Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, two avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Twins. Men for the Win is sponsored by the Grand Group with Edina Realty. Are you looking to purchase a new home in the Twin Cities area? Or perhaps you're trying to sell your current home? Whether you're upsizing or downsizing, the Grand Group with Edina Realty will meet all of your housing needs. Contact the Grand Group by emailing thegrand, G-R-A-N, group at edinarealty.com or call them by phone at 612-817-8751. The Grand Group with Edina Realty, 7-time Minneapolis-St. Paul Magazine Super Agent Award winners. On this episode, David and Hoges recap the Twins' 4-game series against the Texas Rangers. Thanks for listening. Enjoy. Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win. My name is David Kufis. With me today in studio is Andrew Hoganson. Dan's off picking blueberries or covering a football game. It's a very confusing time, Hoges, but thanks so much for filling in with short notice.
Yeah, I think I'm mostly here because you guys are arguing about the word Gazette and whether or not it's spelled with an L or a Z, and I'm not entirely sure what's going on there, but I felt like I was kind of getting in a little bit of a lover's quarrel, so maybe we should just let it be. But I'm happy to be filling in for him again on short notice.
Yeah, I don't fully understand. I'm very embarrassed or enraged or something, but I'll be honest, as a person, I don't put myself in the upper echelon of intelligence by any stretch of the imagination, but I would consider myself of average intelligence with some blind spots, right?
I think that's fair.
But so, Dan Thompson, if there's one thing you know about Dan Thompson from listening to the show, it's that he really likes puns, right?
Yeah, he does.
Well, Dan goes blueberry picking every year, and he makes these desserts. And this time, he made a dessert called a gelée. And so I made a joke saying, I always thought that was a newspaper, but a pastry makes sense. Dan sends a clarifying text that says, gelée, not Gazette. Now, I don't know how to take that, Hoges, without being really offended that Dan thought I didn't know the word Gazette.
I just love that. I'm out for a bike ride, and I get back, and I have 37 unread text messages, and it's arguing about Gazette and Gallet, which, to be fair, I didn't know what a Gallet was, but...
No, and that would make more sense, but that's why the pun was supposed to be fun. Whatever. Anyway, okay, enough about Dan Thompson. He's not here. He's covering a football game. It's fine. But this weekend, Hoges, it was Players Weekend, which I guess I don't really remember this being a thing.
It used to be a lot of fun. They used to be able to change their names on their jerseys and everything.
Yeah,
and it was they would get a little bit more involved and almost not coach, but just have a little bit more say in bullpen stuff. And now it just seems stupid, if you ask me. It seems like a gimmick.
Yeah, I mean, they did get to choose certain bats if they wanted to. You could choose a crayon or a pencil.
Did you know that they couldn't do that before, though? I guess I didn't really know that you couldn't personalize your bats. Hey, I love the Jeffers thing. I love that he hit 2 home runs with the pencil bat, but he wasn't the only one who had a pencil bat. And honestly, it's not like it's this phenomenally creative idea. So I'm not to be a Debbie Downer here, but the whole thing kind of just seemed it was just dumb. I don't understand it. The lightsaber was kind of cool, though. I don't know if you saw that. I think it was Jackson Holiday or someone had a bat that was a glow in the dark blue lightsaber, and that looked cool.
Yeah, it was fine. But now you say that, I do remember those jerseys with the nicknames and whatnot on it. And then wasn't Joe's just Joe or Mauer or something? His nickname was a very Joe Mauer.
Well, to be fair, his Hall of Fame plaque says Joseph and then in quotes Joe Mauer. So perfect for him.
But also in other news regarding players, Christian Vazquez celebrated his 10 service years with the MLB, which I guess is a pretty big deal because only 7% of MLB players reach that plateau and their pension becomes fully vested at 10 years. So that's a big deal. I get it. His wife sent a mariachi band, and so the clubhouse was rocking, which was pretty cool. And for whatever reason, Hoges, maybe 10 years is the magical mark when Christian Vazquez remembers how to play baseball.
Yeah, maybe that's what it actually was. It was going to Grand Slam and then hitting those 10 years, and now he's playing a lot better. But it always is a little bit sobering when you see those stats. Only 7% of MLB players make it to 10 years, and there's all those ones about the average time in the NFL for a running back is a half a year. We forget sometimes that these guys' careers are unbelievably short because we're so focused on the household names that are in there forever. It's a good reminder that it's short and fleeting, but it's also exciting when a guy gets there too.
Yeah, well, with that, Hoges, I think we're going to jump into the series recap. A lot of good things to talk about. It's just sad that it ended on such a sour note.
Series recap.
Game 1 here, Hogs. Twins come away with this one 3-2, a really tense game, but Bailey Ober on the mound looking as dominant as ever. He goes 6 innings pitched, 7 hits, only 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. His 10th straight quality start, the first win since Santana in 2004. That was his Cy Young season, if you remember.
I like that it's Johan Santana now, and we're not talking about Nick Blackburn, because it cracked me up every time Dan said that he's in pretty upper echelon company. I'm like, I don't know, Nick Blackburn. Not really where I would go with that. But yeah, Bailey Ober has been absolutely lights out. And I mean, I think I can say this with a straight face. If you take out 2 of those Royals starts, you might be talking about this guy for the Cy Young, at least in the top 3.
His ERA is under 2.5 if you take out 2 or 3 bad starts, which is just insane.
And you got to think, I still go with those starts weren't necessarily him. It was more tipping pitches or something like that. So it's crazy how good he's been this year, and it's been pretty fun to watch.
Well, and just his ability to stay resilient on the mound when he gets into trouble. So in this one, top of the first, he gets into trouble early. Marcus Semien hits a single, Josh Smith walks, then Garcia hits an RBI single, followed by another walk of Langford, and then Josh Jung hits a sac fly. So the Rangers are up 2-0 early, but Bailey Ober, man, anybody with children, I can say, you're used to, dire circumstances at all times, but you got to keep a cool head or things just start to explode, Hogs.
I think that's been one of the coolest things about him this year, too. You get in a game where you give up 2 runs right away, and he just settles down right after that. I mean, and he still gets to 6 innings pitched. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, so then the Twins answer, though, in the top of the second, a Willie Castro solo home run, followed by an inside-the-park home run by Kyle Farmer. Disappointing, though, this was scored as a triple with a fielding error by Taveras. The ball bounces off that weird wall they have in left field, which I don't understand who designed this ballpark.
It's so stupid. It's so dumb. It's maybe it's a Texas thing. We have to make center field be dumb. The Houston Astros have to have that little raised area. This one made me mad. That's an inside-the-park homer, right? Why did they rule it a triple?
Well, because Taveras, when he was going to play the ball, the way the ball was spinning off of the wall when it was hitting against it, he misplayed it and it went through his legs.
But do you call that an error, though? I've watched that replay 7 times, and that ball had some, like you said, it had some wicked English on it. I don't know. I think you got to give him an inside-the-park homer. I bet I watched it 7 times, and every time I just got angry that they were calling it a triple.
I don't know. I'll never understand scorekeepers' decisions, Hogs. But
it would be fun to be one, though, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, sure, that's an error.
There were 3 outs recorded in that inning and 5 singles, but no one reached base. Something doesn't add up here. But anyway, quiet middle innings here as Ober, again, keeps himself calm. He makes it through 6 innings, no more scoring. Cody Bradford mirrors Ober going through 6, only allowing the 2 runs in the top of the second, which we discussed. Things are quiet then, Hogs, until the top of the 9th when Wallner walks, Margot walks, and then a Kirby Yates wild pitch advances Wallner to 3rd and Margot to 2nd, and then Santana sac fly scores Wallner. And here's the thing, Hogs. Rocco stuck to the plan in this one, and it works. Jax, Alcala, and Duran all pitch clean innings, giving up a combined 1 hit, and the Twins come away with this one 3-2, despite going 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position. It's madness, Hogs.
It is. It's really crazy. They're squeak. I mean, that's kind of a theme of this series, honestly, in this game, with squeaking games out late, and we'll get to this more later, too, but the Twins got to Kirby Yates, which is pretty phenomenal because no one has this year, and they definitely made some things happen. Just some crazy stats about them coming back late in games and how many runs they've scored in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings, and it's fun because they have those bullpen arms, and I know we had a blip today, but with Jax, Alcala, and Duran at the end of it, I mean, that is a pretty phenomenal end of your bullpen that they have right now, and I think you could make the argument outside of today that Duran is probably the least reliable right now out of those 3 guys.
Griffin Jax looks absolutely insane, and Alcala, we'll have to talk about him a bit later, but let's push forward here. Game 2, Twins win this one 4-3. Never was I comfortable, Hogs, in any of these games. The Twins just squeaked by. But so SWR, Sim, as we lovingly call him, he goes 5 innings pitched.
That drives me crazy. I just don't like it. I know it's because you're just avoiding trying to say his full name. And I know the Twins are using that too, but I don't know why, but it grates me every single time. So feel free to use it if you want to annoy me.
Okay, well, I'll use SWR for, I will acquiesce.
Or you could go SR. I think we should keep that going. The letter W is, in fact, retired on this podcast last I checked.
We're not doing this. Dan's away. I get a break from this for a little bit. Please don't buy in, Hogue. So SWR goes 5 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 2 walks with a strikeout. Bottom of the second, Adolis Garcia hits a single, followed by a Nathan Lowe walk, and then a Wyatt Langford sac fly. Rangers are up 1-0. Then the top of the third, Ryan Jeffers, a solo home run. It barely clears the wall, Hogues. This was a 21-degree launch angle and 356 feet.
If you've ever seen a line drive home run, that was a line drive home run. And you know what? It's pencil power. That's what it is.
It is. And the pencil power continued here in a different way. Jeffers trying to be erased, I guess. So he gets hit by pitch, followed by a Margot single, and then a Carlos Santana, the big bopper, 3-run home run. Twins lead this one 4-1. And then at that point, Hogs, I'm thinking, okay, they should be able to figure this one out.
Yeah, but no. That was not the theme of this entire series. Is just every time you felt like you could get a tiny bit comfortable, then you just weren't. And I mean, this one was interesting too, because Semien finally comes through with a solo home run to cut the deficit to 4-2, which was, I guess, nice for a change, because every single other scoring play was Langford, low, the entire other series. So Semien finally gets in the mix a little bit. Have their stars produce a little bit.
Yeah, so then bottom of the sixth, Thielbar comes in, who you and I agree on this, Hogs, and we are definitely in the minority. We have zero faith in Caleb Thielbar, where the rest of the universe seems to be just really behind him.
It's the same thing with Ober, but like way worse. Like, so we're talking about, 1 or 2 bad starts where he was tipping pitches and they threw it out. The Caleb Thielbar apologists are like, well, if you take out 17 of his 20 appearances, he has a 0.00 ERA. What are we talking about? Like, I love the guy. I love that he's Minnesotan. He's bad now. He's done. He's old. He's washed up. Like, why can't we say that? He's got a 6.09 ERA with 40 games left to go in the season. What you see is what you get. Can we stop pretending that this guy's turned it around?
Fans want an ejection. There it goes.
And that was Gardy's gripe.
Oof, I love it, Hogs. I love the fire here. But so Thielbar comes in. He has 2 quick outs and then a low single. And so this brings out Rocco, which is a little surprising because normally Rocco lets guys work with 2 outs. But Sands comes in, and then Josh Young singles, Wyatt Langford singles as well to score low. Twins are still up, but it's 4-3, and everybody is nervous.
Do you wonder here, like, I get that you're trying to protect the young guys, but taking Simeon Uds Richardson out when he's only thrown 78 pitches, it just doesn't seem like that is the recipe for inning.
I'm not exactly sure, because when they do let him go through the lineup for a third time, it hasn't been great. But I agree, at some point, you're going to have to let him do it, especially with the way that this team is made up.
Well, I mean, what we're going to get to now with you having to use Thielbar, you've already used your big 3 in the game before, and this is a good team. This is what kind of burns them again here.
Yeah, so bottom of the 7th now here. Tavares singles, then he gets caught stealing by a great throw and tag by Jeffers and Julian. They challenged the play, the Rangers did, but it was confirmed he was out. And then the bottom of the 8th, thank goodness, the Twins get a clean inning by Jax. And then the bottom of the 9th, Hogs, was pretty fascinating. So Duran enters. There's a great play by Willie Castro at short, and he was coming off the bench. So to make this play when you're kind of cold coming off the bench is great. 2 outs. Tavares originally called out for the 3rd out at first, but then the review overturns the call, and this brings up Semien. And I'm just thinking, this just seems like the Twins are going to lose. There's no way the Twins get out of this one, but thank goodness Duran strikes out Semien. The funny part about this, though, a comedy of errors in this inning. But so the TV had the count wrong, and Provis had the count wrong. So nobody knew it was the 3rd strike except for Duran and Vasquez at that point.
It's weird that this didn't involve Willie Castro, right? Like, he was totally in the clear on this one, which is it's nice to see, but this is a game the Twins had to have because they end up kind of blowing that lead. I mean, if you can call going from 4-1 to 4-3 blowing a lead, but still, they had to use their big arms, and you're using them in 2 straight games. I'm glad they won this one. It just definitely got a little bit more hairy than it had to be, and I think they kind of paid the price for that today a little bit.
Agreed. So game 3 here, Twins win this one 5-2. David Festa, the Slim Reaper as he's known, he goes 5 innings pitched, 6 hits, 2 earned runs, 6 strikeouts. Again, the bullpen is bound to break down a little bit when your starters are only allowed to go 5 innings.
Well, I think Dan made a great point with talking about, do we need to get Festa and Simeon Woods Richardson like outside of like split them up a little bit, because you are putting so much stress on the bullpen when you're only letting these guys throw 80 pitches. And I know I complained about it just right now, but I don't disagree with it, having those guys come out early, because we've seen what can happen to young guys when you just overstress their arms. But man, that's a rough 1-2 punch to kind of follow with the bullpen like that, where you're maybe only getting 5, possibly 6 innings. It's just tough.
So bottom 2nd here, Wyatt Langford singles, a Josh Young ground out, and then a Jonah Heim ground out, then a Carson Kelly RBI single. The Rangers lead 1-0. it's sort of annoying when groundouts lead to so much success for other teams. Hoges.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's funny, too, in today's day and age because you're so used to just seeing bombs. I mean, specifically from this Rangers team here, but they small-balled us a lot in this series.
Very much so. But so top of the fourth, Trevor Larnach, who had a good series, he had a solo homer. This tied it 1-1. Then in the bottom of the fourth, back-to-back doubles by Heim and Kelly. Rangers take the lead back 2-1. And then again, quiet through the middle innings. So it's like I feel like these games, you watch the first 3 innings and you watch the last 3 innings. That's all you really need to see to get the whole feeling.
Well, honestly, it happened to me a couple times where I was watching the game and then I fell asleep for a couple minutes and you'd wake up 2 innings later and be like, oh, that was fine. I guess I didn't miss too much.
So top of the 8th, look at that. We skipped from the bottom of the 4th to the top of the 8th.
Right, every box score.
So Julian singles, Vasquez singles, and he celebrates a bit much, I'd say, on this. I'm a little bit confused. He brings his bat with him, like a third up the baseline and like holds it out like he's flying. It's the top of the 8th, Vasquez.
Have you ever
I don't understand.
Have you ever seen a mic drop single before? Like it was so bizarre. It was like, all right. I mean, yeah, it's a big, I don't know. Like It
didn't score a run even. It's not like they took the lead. It wasn't a walk-off. I don't understand exactly. But maybe he was still pumped up from the mariachi band. Maybe. That's the only thing I can really think of here. But so Austin Martin then reaches on a bunt. He was called out initially, but then Rocco challenges and they overturn it. Bases are loaded, and then Willie Castro. This is when Willie is most like Eddie Rosario, I say, because he comes in with a huge hit. He has a single, and then there's a throwing error that ends up out of play, so that scores Martin, and Castro advances to third. So Royce Lewis strikes out, but then Castro gets caught in a rundown between third and home and gets tagged out, and that's just so Eddie Rosario, where you have a fantastic play in a big moment, and then you make a silly base running error that costs the team. So Twins come out of the 8th here with the lead 4-2, and then in the top of the 9th, the Twins add on, thankfully. Santana walks, Kepler hits a double that advances Santana to the third, and then Kyle Farmer, the guy who we've never lost faith in, the guy who we've been so thrilled with having on this roster, sac fly scores Santana. Twins lead this one 5-2. Finally, the bullpen gets a little bit of relief. Cole Sands closes out the game with a clean inning. The only thing here in this game that I thought was of note from the Rangers side of things is Nathan Eovaldi, who was a name on the chopping block at the deadline, who ended up staying with the Rangers. He throws fantastic. So he has 7 innings pitched, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, and 6 strikeouts. But what bothered me about him, Hoges, is his windup was just so annoying to me because he changes it constantly. It's never consistent. It's never the same. So if it's annoying to me as a viewer, how annoying must it be to hitters in the box, Hoges?
Oh, incredibly. But you know what's even more annoying? Could I have the Dan's Dumb sounder played real quick?
Just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed.
Dan's Dumbs.
How good would Eovaldi look in a Twins uniform right now? How good would Blake Snell look in a Twins uniform right now? I appreciate the enthusiasm that this is our finest hour with these 3 rookies and everything, but he can still be mad about it, right? We can still be mad that they didn't get Blake Snell, that they didn't trade for Eovaldi, and it was just so frustrating to see him have such a good game against the Twins. Like, I'm glad they pulled it off, but the whole beginning part of this game was like, oh yeah, Eovaldi's just cruising right now. He's thrown like 17 pitches, and we're in the 5th inning right now, and they just can't do anything. Like, I like the optimism, but Dan, it's okay to be mad. It's okay to be mad. We should have got one of them.
That is not Dan Thompson's MO. Reasonable takes with a very even-keeled approach to all things.
He just moved on so fast. And, he's just like, yeah, we have 3 rookies who've pitched a combined 17 innings, but you know what? We're going to make a World Series run. It's fine.
Any excuse to mention Apollo 13, Hoges, is really what it comes down to. Let's move on here. Game 4. The only really disappointing game for the Twins. Obviously, they come away with a loss. Rangers take this one 6-5 in extra innings. Lopez pitches, and he looks great, Hoges, after the first couple innings. He goes 6 innings pitched, 6 hits, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. Top of the first here, Miranda hits a triple, followed by a Larnach RBI's double, and then a Ryan Jeffers home run. Puts the Twins up early 3-0, but then Pablo gets into trouble in the bottom of the first, leaves the bases loaded, though thankfully no runs for the Rangers.
Yeah, and throwing 30 pitches, he gets in trouble again in the second, which is just like you're starting to just like, oh, come on, Pablo. Like, you're the guy that we really need to go deep. We've had all these rookies showing up right now, so now we need you to go at least 6. And thankfully he turned it around, but yeah, it was looking really rough there at the beginning of this game.
It's really obvious, though, that Pablo wants to go through 6 basically no matter what.
Yes.
And I do wonder how he talks to Rocco about that, or if there's just an understanding of, I don't really care what my pitch count is, I'm going to get through 6 innings.
Have you noticed that he's been exceptionally sweaty this year, too? Like, this was an indoor game, and he was dripping. I know he threw 30 pitches in the first inning, but man, like, it's just, Get the, like, what? Quit wearing that undershirt. That's what's bugging me, I think. Do the Sonny Gray, like, low V-neck thing, and you'll be fine.
Don't forget to bring a towel.
Actually, you know what it is? I think underneath his clothes, he's wearing the home run vest.
Because my chest is cold and my arms aren't.
Probably. Most probably.
I think, yeah, he's just really layering those vests here. But in the bottom of the second here, to help Pablo out, there was a great play by Jose Miranda to get Carson Kelly at first. Top of the third here, the Twins add on Castro singles, Larnach singles, and then Jeffers with an RBI single. Twins are up 4-0. And at this point, I'm thinking, okay, we might be able to use some bad guys out of the bullpen just to get through this game. And then we go directly into the Padres series. So it'd be great to be able to rest some of those big arms.
Well, that's the thing about this. Like, we didn't have an off day on Thursday, and then we don't have another one on Monday, and we've been using all the big arms, so you get that 4-0 lead right away, and you're like, all right, Pablo, get on cruise control, let's go, we'll be fine. Again, another theme here, you could basically take a nap for the next 4 innings before anything happened again.
Yeah, bottom of the seventh here, Jorge Alcala comes in and self-implodes. So Taveras singles, Marcus Semien RBI double, Corey Seager RBI double, Garcia 2-run home run. And then you're thinking, okay, well, Rocco's got to pull out Alcala now. Nope. Stays in, Josh Jung with the solo homer to deep center. And the Rangers have taken a lead in the bat of an eye. I hope you woke up from your nap fast enough to catch the lead change here. The Rangers were now up 5-4.
19 pitches. That's all it took for them to lose the 4-0 lead. I mean, it was insane. It happened in the blink of an eye, and it was just, it was really, really frustrating to watch. And then Richards comes in one pitch, and they're out of the inning.
Oh, my goodness. Quite frustrating. So the Twins did not go quietly into the ninth, though, thankfully. Top of the ninth here, Carlos Santana with the solo home run. Tie game 5-5. Oh, and then the top of the 10th, folks. We're going to talk more about the top of the 10th later. Long story short, the Twins don't score. The bottom of the 10th, Garcia starts on second. Josh Jung hits a ball to Jose Miranda, who doesn't even bother looking at Garcia, and he throws to first, but then the ball is knocked out of Santana's glove, and Garcia scores. Rangers win 6-5. What a terrible way to lose.
It was such a crappy play to lose the game. Like, I didn't get a chance to watch it that many times, like the replay that many times other than what they showed on the TV broadcast, but Miranda definitely should have looked Garcia back, it seemed like. It seemed like he did have enough time at least to just do a quick, and then, like, Garcia started running before he'd even, like, fully finished his, like, wind-up to throw over to first, so I don't know if he just didn't see him after that, because you almost looked like he could have just tagged him at that point in time.
Yes.
And then I don't know how Santana dropped that ball either. Like, that looked like it was for sure in his glove, and he even looked surprised when he looked down at it. And then where's Julian? Like, it was just such a comedy of errors. And frustrating thing is, speaking of scorekeeping, they gave him a hit on the play. Like, and then obviously an error to lose the game, but like they gave him a hit. But my first thought, which maybe this is just the Minnesota sports fan in me, was just like, oh, thank goodness that wasn't a playoff game, because at least like that one I'm going to feel gross about for like an hour or so, and then you just never think about it again. But it was just, it was such a great series. And even like Santana getting us back into that game, you kind of felt like, well, we're just destined to win all of these, I guess. And then to lose that way was just, it hurt.
Quite disappointing. But with that here, let's go forward into our segments here. I'm real excited to talk about this first one. Puckett's Picks Winner.
Catch 'em all, Kirby Puckett!
Puckett's Picks Winner.
Hogs, there are just some times when things are going to bounce your way. No matter what you do, I take Max Kepler, and he gets me the victory with 3 points. In a 4-game series where the Twins scored 17 runs, Max Kepler wins this for me with 3 points.
I watched you do the math like 4 different times before we started the recording, too. He legitimately did win. Just frustrating. Everything's going your way this year. This is the year of David for Puckett's Picks.
I'm loving it. But so, Hogs, you actually tied the listeners. Miranda had 2 points along with Lewis had 2 points. Dan took Matt Wallner because they're birthday buddies. I don't think he'll ever, he'll never not pick Matt Wallner, but he scores -1. So now season standings, I'm at 20.5 points, followed by Hogs with 13, the listeners with 10, and then Dan all the way back at 6.5. I don't know, Hogs, it's looking less and less likely you're going to need to go on quite the run to catch up.
The English teacher is going to love the double negative you just dropped right there, but I think it's just Wallner, just whatever he's sniffing in his helmet is just getting into him right now. He needs to like mix it up a little bit.
Let's talk about this for a minute. So what is in Matt Wallner's helmets? Is it some sort of like essential oils, or is it like a smelling salt, an affirmation, like a mantra, like I will hit the ball? Or is it a picture of his family? What is in Matt Wallner's helmet, Hope?
I think it's none of those. I think he just likes the gross smell of his helmet, and that's what he's going for. It just kind of wakes him up.
Smelling though?
It looks like he's smelling it. It looks like he's smelling it. Like I have Googled this actually, and you can actually buy a game-used Matt Wallner helmet, not on eBay. It's like through the Minnesota Twins auction, but it's going for $850. I think if it were anything like reasonable, I would consider it just to see if he kept whatever is in there, or if it's this. I don't know. It's so weird.
$850. Is that truly the price?
Yeah, but it was used in the playoff series last year, so I think that's why it's a little bit higher. But still, like it's wild what this stuff goes for.
I really hope that like all of the other players' helmets are significantly less, because everybody who's buying it
wanted to know.
Everyone who's bidding on it just wants to know what is happening in Matt Wallner's helmet.
There's no theories even on Google. Like, you know how normally like you can prove your point no matter what your point is. Like you could say the sky is red, and you could find an article on Google that is like, yeah, it actually is. That's what the thing is. But there's no theory. So we need to start some fan fiction, I think. Something about what is in Matt Wallner's helmet.
One other note here about Matt Wallner. I love his stance so much. It's so open. It's got that Judge or that Stanton sort of perspective of like, if he makes contact, it's going to be a home run. Like, that's just the way it looks. And my question to you, Hogs, we're not going to talk about this in Mauer's music. I just have a quick question for you as a Joe Mauer absolute fanboy. If Mauer had tried a stance like that and took just one season trying to be a power hitter, do you think he could have done it?
Oh, I think he absolutely could have. I think Mauer, honestly, without being facetious here, I think Mauer could have hit 40 home runs every single year. He just would have batted .220. So he put more on batting for average, and that's what he did. I think Mauer could have done whatever he wanted. That's how good of a hitter he was.
Okay. Well, now that we've
I know you loved me just ignoring the main part of that question and just praising him for a little bit, so you're welcome.
Yes, it does seem that had a inevitable conclusion, I think. But let's keep pushing here. Beast versus bench.
Beast versus bench.
Is losing fun? Is losing fun?
Well, I'll let you go first, Hogs, because I think you honestly took the best option.
Yeah, I think, honestly, mine are a little bit boring, too. I went with Santana for my beast. I think he played incredible. Like, he was the guy who just, and if you needed a big hit, he was going to get it. He got the sac fly that we talked about in Game 1. He got the 3-run homer in Game 2 that won the game. And then he almost won the game for them in Game 4 when he tied it up at the end there in the top of the 9th. Just a phenomenal series from him. I think we've all eaten our words over and over and over again with what he's done. So it's nice seeing him out there producing.
Yeah, I think he's the obvious choice. And I'm sort of cheating here, to be fair. I'm going to go with the starting staff between Pablo and Ober and SWR and Festa. They did enough. And again, those young guys, I don't think they're pulling themselves after 5 innings. I think that's absolutely Rocco. And I just think that, again, they did enough to keep the Twins in it. What my concern becomes, Hogs, is when we start playing better teams or when we're in the postseason, 5 innings is not going to cut it, knowing that we're going to have to pitch so many days in a row with a bullpen that can only handle so much.
I think that's the scary thing about the rest of the year is anytime Ober and Lopez are in there, we just feel like we need to win those games because the rest of those guys are going to be a little bit of a wild card, and Ober and Lopez are going to have to go deep too. So it's going to be nerve-wracking. So I think that's a good beast because that's what we need the rest of this year. This lineup's going to produce, and we're going to get guys back. So the starting pitching is basically what makes or break it, and they've made it in this series. That's why we won 3 out of 4.
Absolutely. So for my bench, I'm going to give it to Kepler, which I think this is a first where a guy has won me Puckett's picks, and I'm putting him on my bench.
Especially your guy too. Like this is for sure a first for that.
I do love having Max Kepler on my dance card here, this fellow German. But my goodness, Hogs, he goes 1 for 15 with a double and a hit by pitch, but he never struck out. He didn't commit any errors because he plays a absolutely spectacular
He had a
right
great
field.
catch today. That was phenomenal.
He did. But I just don't fully feel good about winning Puckett's picks with that.
Well,
When
1
Santana,
for 15.
I didn't get the bonus because Carlos Santana scored 16 points in Puckett's picks, which is more than all 4 of our picks combined, Hogs.
But I mean, it's almost triple all 4 of our picks picks combined. It is, actually. It is triple, all four of our picks combined.
Oh, that is embarrassing. Who do you have on your bench, Hoges?
I went with Alcala, which doesn't seem really fair. I think we'll get to it a little bit more, but I think I could say Alcala and then Rocco Baldelli for it, because like those 5 runs, you can't leave a guy in that long. I mean, I know it was only 19 pitches, but you got to get him out there. He just clearly didn't have it. He'd pitched in a lot of games before that. I mean, ultimately, that's what lost them the game today, so that's who I gave it to.
That segues really well. Let's go into Rocco's Rewind.
Rocco's Rewind.
So, first of all, Game 4, top 10. Julian starts at second. He advances to third on a Castro flyout. So there's 1 out. Infield is in. Miranda hits a ball to Corey Seager at short, and Julian's running on contact, but he's thrown out by like 10 feet. And so the Twins challenge for catcher's interference, which, here's the thing. I realize letter of the law can be a little bit tricky when it comes to what these new interference rules are, but any baseball fan, anyone who's ever watched any sort of baseball in their lives, look at that play and don't think, oh yeah, Julian shouldn't have been called out because catcher interference. No, the guy caught the ball. I think he drank a protein shake while he waited for Julian to get to home. I don't understand. I hate this contact play in this moment, especially with where that ball was hit. It was just too easy of a play.
It seems like it's burned us a lot, too, that we've done contact with the infield in, too. Like, you do that with Buxton and Martin, maybe. And I agree with you, too. As far as that rule is concerned, I don't care at all if the ball beats the runner by more than 10 feet. Because then it's just over. Like, there's nothing that can happen there outside of some crazy Santana spin move slide. It does frustrate me a little bit that Julian didn't slide, because he didn't even make the catcher work for it. He just kind of got tagged out. I mean, whatever. He was out by a mile. He was going to be out. That's not catcher's interference. I don't care what the letter of the law is. If the ball beats you by that much where the catcher could lay down and still tag you, like, let's be reasonable here. It was weird, but I was very glad when they didn't overturn it, because that would have felt ugly. Yes, agreed. So what do you have for Rocco? I mean, ultimately, like, why did you keep Alcala in? Like, you had other guys that you could go to. I don't even care if you're digging deeper in. You have a guy that's burnt up and he's giving up a ton of hard-hitting contact. It happens fast, but you have to have a backup plan. He didn't have one. I also don't like that he pinch hit Vasquez for Larnach in the 10th as well. I get that you're probably going to put Martin in there after that as the runner if he gets out and you go to another inning. But it's just like, we've talked about this so much, but when do you just trust your better hitters to take that opportunity? And I get it. Larnach has absolutely horrendous numbers against left-handed pitching. Against left-handed pitching right now, he's batting 133 with an OPS of 321. But he has 15 at-bats against left-handed pitching. So at some point in time, that's kind of on the manager for just not even giving them those opportunities. And I know I call you an old man for this all the time, but sometimes you got to let your best hitters hit against any sort of pitching just to be a lot. I mean, Vasquez has a batting average of 220 right now, and that's only because he's batted 975 in the last 3 weeks. So it seems weird to be switching back and forth that much.
Yeah, I think that the Vasquez pinch I would have been way more upset about a month ago than I was in this moment.
For
Vasquez has been swinging the bat so well. To your point, though, I do think there's something about letting a guy take his chance. I don't think he should have pitched Alcala to begin with. Not only should he not have left him in as long as he did, but I think in that moment when you're up 4-0 and you know that Alcala had pitched 27 pitches the day before, you have to go to Richards. You have to go to Thielbar even. You have to go to somebody who's a little bit more fresh. I mean, you're going to have Duran to finish it out. He had pitched 3 games in a row, but he didn't pitch yesterday. So the way that it's going to break down is maybe you have Jax available, but again, he pitched 2 games in a row a couple of games earlier. So I don't quite understand why you're not going to a lower leverage guy, knowing you don't have an off day tomorrow. I mean, when you're up 4-0, that's the time when you got to take a chance, I think, especially in a 4-game series where you'd already won 3. It's the one time I feel like I'm talking like how Rocco should have been thinking, which is shocking to me because I never agree with Rocco's perspective about what he's trying to win when.
I couldn't agree with you more. And what do we do? What do we do tomorrow? Like, I mean,
no clue.
I mean, I know, okay, so Jax only threw 9 pitches today and Duran threw 6, so theoretically you could pitch both of those guys tomorrow, but the Twins better win 15-0 or lose 15-0 tomorrow, because otherwise it's going to get real hairy.
I mean, maybe Zebby Matthews throws a no-hitter. You know, it could happen.
75-pitch no-hitter.
It's going to be great. So with that here, let's go on to our Minnesota moment.
Minnesota moment.
Well, so I got to give it game 1, top 2. Kyle Farmer inside the park home run. That's what it is. I understand it's not technically an inside the park home run. I would say, as the official scorekeeper at that stadium, that inside the park home run is 100% on the designer of the outfield wall.
Yeah.
And so I don't really care. You can't have guys getting errors for a ball doing what a billiards ball does when like a pro player hits that ball to like curve it around other balls. That's not how a baseball is supposed to naturally move.
And the ball was cruising. The ball was going fast. It wasn't. It was not a bad play. And he was where he was supposed to be. Like, frankly, if he was just chasing the ball, that would have made it all the way to the right fielder. If he had been playing like a normal, he played the wall correctly. It's just, it came off like insane. I went with, in game 3, with Castro's 2-run single or triple or whatever you want to call it. It still blows my mind that he even thought he could go to third. I mean, I think he was closer to second when they threw it over to third, when he still got lined up over there. But to still, in order to get that run in, it felt like it summed up the series for me a little bit, where weird things happened on the base paths and the Twins just somehow, even though you couldn't see it really happening, came out with a victory in it. I loved that. It was sweet. And it was funny that it happened to Castro too.
Yes, definitely. Let's keep pushing here. Mauer's musings.
I just don't know how it can get any better.
Mauer's musings.
Is Carlos Santana the best defensive first baseman the Twins have had in 20 years, 30 years? I mean, who's the last guy who you would say that's a Gold Glove first baseman?
Luis Ariz. He finished third in the Gold Glove for the AL about 2 years ago. Did he deserve it?
They're like, oh, we're not supposed to look at batting average? Whoopsie.
I mean, yeah, he is phenomenal out there, which I love. I love that you asked this question today, because we literally just saw him cost us a game. But I think your premise is still correct, that he is. I mean, Morneau was a good first baseman. Mauer was a phenomenal first baseman and could have won a Gold Glove.
I knew you were going to talk about him so much in this episode. I didn't even want to ask this question.
You keep
but I'm just so
teeing it
curious
up for
because
me.
Santana is so good.
You can't keep teeing it up for me and then get mad. Like, that doesn't even make any sense. But yeah, it's nice having the Twins defensively right now, even with Correa on the bench. It's been pretty fun to watch in the infield. The outfield has been just terrifying lately, but hopefully we get Buxton back soon.
Do you know who the last Minnesota Twins player to win a Gold Glove at first base was?
Walter Johnson.
Nope. You want to guess again?
I have no clue.
I'll give you a hint. He managed in the Twins system.
Oh, Mankiewicz?
Yeah.
Wow.
2001.
Yeah, he was good. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's
So
not that
I
bad.
think it's
23 years isn't that bad to go with for a Gold Glove.
No, it's not crazy actually. So I do think though Santana's play in the field has to be acknowledged, folks. We have to give him a lot of credit, especially with how old he is, Hoges. Hoges, I can't get out of bed in the morning as fast as he can get those balls. I don't understand it.
Yeah, and he's older than us, and for him to be playing out there like that is absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, it's nice to see. And I love Carlos Correa in this instance, because I don't know if you saw Gleeman's tweets, but he was talking about interviewing Correa, and they were just talking about Santana's defense. And Correa was absolutely pushing for Santana to be included in the Gold Glove conversation this year because of what his outs above average are. And I can't remember exactly where he was, but he's for sure in the top 3 of first basemen in the AL, and it's been pretty sweet to watch.
Absolutely. What do you have for your musing?
So I have a question for you, and your answer is going to be wrong. And I just want to tell you that right now. Like, your answer is 100% wrong. But who is the game 1 starter of the playoffs? And the only reason I'm asking a question like this is I'm not on that often, so I know we're getting way ahead of ourselves. But it seems like it's definitely between 3 guys, and I want to know where you're going to go.
Well, first of all, I love that the guy who was mocking us for being too sure that this team was going to make the postseason is asking a question about who our starting pitcher is going to be in the postseason. But I'm going to go with Bailey Ober, of course, is my game 1 starter.
No, see, I knew that's what you're going to say. And okay, if you don't know that your friendship with me is an emotional roller coaster, I don't know what to tell you, because it's been a long time, David, and that's just what you see is what you get. You can't give it to Bailey Ober. You need a guy like Pablo Lopez on that mound, and here's why I'm saying this. I love how far ahead of myself I'm getting. You need Pablo Lopez to pitch again on short rest, and I don't want Bailey Ober to be that guy who's going to be pitching on short rest, so I think even with everything that's happened this year, I think Lopez is still your game 1 starter.
There's so many games left in this season.
I'm ready.
This was our post.
I'm so ready.
You would think this was our postseason preview show, the way that you're talking. It's like, do you want to tell us who's going to be healthy in time for the postseason now too, Hoges? That'd be great.
Everyone, Buxton, Correa, they're all going to be healthy. I think Joe Ryan's coming back too, so he's probably pitching game 2.
They sewed Joe Ryan's arm back on, I think. I don't think he's coming back.
That's really what it made it sound like. Rocco is basically like, it's definitely not weeks. It might be months or possibly years, when they were talking about like when he's coming back, and it was just like, what happened?
Oh, Joe Ryan sitting there like the Black Knight and Monty Python. Right? It's just a flesh wound. I'll kick the ball to him. I'll bite it.
I'll be honest, though. Seeing this series against, I know the Rangers aren't playing that well this year, but they won the World Series last year. And to win 3 out of 4 against that team, not having Buxton, not having Correa, not having Ryan, this might be their finest hour, David. It really might be.
I don't know what happens.
I don't
if you and Dan text a whole bunch secretly before the show, and Dan's like, you really should hammer home some of the things I've been saying. That'd be great.
He did. He pulled a U though, and he texted us a bunch of stuff that we had to talk about today.
All right, let's keep going here because you kind of led into it already. Let's grade the series.
Series grades.
A. It's an A. I don't really know what else you can say about it. Today would have been nice, but 3 out of 4 against a decent team, gaining another game on the Guardians, it would have been so nice to only be 1 back, but being 2 back right now after the Guardians just got walloped by the Brewers hits nice. So yeah, I'm giving them an A.
Yeah, I'm giving them an A also. It is always fun too to see the Guardians get beat up by our border battle friends.
Yes.
And honestly, in Game 4, you had no one in the bullpen, and I think Rocco messed up in the way that he managed things. I don't think you can put this on Alcala as much as guys are going to do so. I'm giving them an A, and I feel really good about it.
I'm worried about the Padres series, though. I'll be honest. That bullpen is a wee bit depleted, and we have guys that are only going to throw 5 innings, so it's going to be fun.
And the jet lag, it's going to be a rough go here for this team.
Jet lag. Can we talk about that for a moment here? So I would like to bring up. You said that you have very famously brought up a few of my receipts from text messages from 4 years ago, and also recordings from the podcast from I think 4 years ago as well.
Yeah.
Your dream road trip that you thought that you wanted to do was to go to this series, which would have been a pretty phenomenal series. And then in your brilliant geographical mind, you thought you would take a quick hop, skip, and a jump over to San Diego to watch them in San Diego. David, it's a 20-hour drive. I looked it up before we recorded this podcast. I'm pretty sure San Diego, from Arlington to San Diego, is farther than Minneapolis to Arlington.
Folks, I'm from the Midwest. It's one of those things, we'll just drive it, There's no reason to get on one of those fancy East-West Coast planes. Let's just drive it. Not a problem. If it's less than 24 hours, that means it's less than a day of driving.
Well, then you can't get jet lag either, right? Because you're not actually going on a jet, so you'll be fine.
That's not what jet lag means. Jet lag is because of the time difference. It's not just because you flew in a plane.
Thank you for gazetting me right there, Mr. Kufis.
Okay, if I cut that at the beginning of the show, that's not going to make any sense to anybody. Let's keep going here into Herbie's headlines.
I don't know, Jack. It looked like Herbeck pulled him off the bag.
Herbie's headlines.
We're going to do a couple of quick hits here, and then we'll talk about the main subject here. But Gio Urshela was DFA'd by the Tigers. That might be the end. Gio Urshela in the majors. We'll have to see. And then this was just funny. It's August, Hoges, and the White Sox have been eliminated from playoff contention, which is pretty impressive knowing that there's 12 wild card teams out each season.
It cracked me up, too, because you get the message, they're eliminated from the Central. And then obviously I realized that it's all so close in the playoff picture right now. But 4 days later, and there you go, the playoffs as well. So RIP White Sox 2024.
The big news here that came out of the MLB sort of top brass is they're considering a 6 innings pitched minimum for starters. A couple of qualifications here, unless they're over 100 pitches, over 4 earned runs, or due to injury. And the rationale for even considering this is to bring some prestige back to the starting role. How do you feel about that, Hoges?
I saw too that they think it will help injuries maybe because starters know they have to go that long, so they can't just go flamethrow the entire time. I don't know. It seems stupid and gimmicky, but so did the pitch clock. So I'm trying not to just have my first reaction be a negative reaction. I would love it if starters always went 6 innings pitched. I don't think it's reasonable though, and I think it changes the game too much. And I also think it takes away from a manager having to work around some of the issues that may come up if you have a guy that just isn't normally going to go that long. I guess ultimately, initial reaction, I don't like it. I also don't think it'll ever happen. But if you would have asked me 5 years ago if the pitch clock would ever happen, I would have laughed in your face too. So I don't know.
First of all, this podcast is built upon gut reactions. Let's start there. But secondly, I would say that when I first saw this, I thought it was foolish for a couple of reasons. The main one being the manager position in baseball is getting less and less important as more and more rules are made. And in this instance, Hoges, when you already have a 3-batter minimum for relievers, if you start issuing regulations regarding how long starters have to go. The game is managed for the manager in some ways. And so it's one of those things where let the managers manage their players. They can no longer position them as they'd like in the field because of the shift ban. They can no longer use the relievers they want to use when they need to because of the minimum batter rules. And now you're trying to administer all of the decisions for the starting pitching. I just don't think that it's wise. And when a game has been played as long as baseball has, and with the drastic changes they've made as of late, I don't think this is one that would be better for the sport, knowing full well that I was wrong about the pitch clock. I absolutely love it now, but this is different because I'm still in the mindset that I still think that the shift ban feels a little bit silly to me.
Yeah, honestly, you said it way better than I did. I couldn't agree with that more. And to the injury aspect of it, I think that's on guys themselves. Do you want to have 3 Tommy Johns in your career? Then don't do that. Like, I think there's enough motivation for guys to try to figure that out. I do feel like we're at a tipping point where starting pitchers do need to realize that because guys are throwing out their arms so much. But I don't think that's up to the game to police that and rule change in order to fix that. But yeah, you said that beautifully.
All right, well, with that, Hogs, let's go on to Puckett's picks.
And we'll see you tomorrow night.
Puckett's picks.
The listeners are going to stick with Lewis. I think it is difficult to make picks right now, though. Honestly, it's just hard. You don't know who's going to be the hot hand. Dan's going to go with Castro, which honestly does not seem like a bad decision, but then it'll go to you.
I got a feeling that Buxton is probably out for this entire series. I can't remember exactly when his IL stint is up, but I would imagine they're probably not going to fly him out to California. I feel like I'm getting lucky here, and I'm going to take Santana after that performance against the Rangers. I think it'd be dumb if I went anywhere else.
It's as good a pick as any, and I don't really want to go with Wallner. I don't think that Kepler's going to be able to win with 3 points. I think that Miranda has struggled a bit as of late. Who's left? I'm going to go with Pencil Man himself, Ryan Jeffers.
Yeah, I mean, I can't fault that pick. I mean, again, we are at the time of the season where when you have Correa out and Buxton out, I think you could throw a dart at a dartboard, and honestly, any of these guys are going to be a decent pick. You could pick a guy who you think is going to be on the bench most of the time. I mean, when we're only winning with 3 points for a guy who goes 1 for 15, no one's doing that great right now. So
you need one pitch hit home run out of Austin Martin, and you've won the series, no question. All right, well, with that, Hogs, thanks so much for filling in. If you wouldn't mind sending us out, that'd be great.
Well, folks, if you like what you hear, please tell a friend. You can follow us on X at Min for the Win and find our Min for the Win Facebook and Instagram pages. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast on your favorite podcast platforms so that you're notified when new episodes are available. And if you could leave us a rating or a like, we'd greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to support the show further, you can find us on Patreon. Link in the description. Thanks for listening, and as always, go Twins!
That'll wrap up another episode of Men for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, 2 avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Twins. Thanks so much for listening, and as always, go Twins!